Welcome to AI Oversight Weekly Briefing. Today I have an engaging conversation with Berhard about transition intelligence. So many people from my network have been waiting for this conversation. Honestly, this has been one of the most requested topics in my current visits into London and both Ireland. So people do not want to talk about technology. People want really to talk about the transformation and transition, personal and company transition. So Berhard, welcome. So happy to have you.
Great, thanks, Elena. Good to connect again.
So Berhard and myself have a long history knowing each other. So for our listeners, we had the chance to work together in Johnson & Johnson. So Berhard was actually the person who hired me to work for Johnson & Johnson. And we worked together about 5 years. And so he's my personal advisor and coach and a friend. And now we're championing this transition topic because we do believe that this is something which is so important for people who go through personal life and everything. So Berhard, maybe the first question to you is, as an introduction question, is that you had a chance in your career to lead largest technological transformation for largest Fortune 500 company. And what made you conclude that transition itself is a capability?
I came across that, Elena, when as part of my coaching journey, and so there's the concept is that IQ is something that people are very familiar with, right? And then there was EQ came on top of that, emotional intelligence, and then TQ, which was new for me, which is transitional intelligence. And the thing that struck me, that's also I think why you get this reaction. The thing that struck me is that so many people are working through transitions, all the time. And yes, large change programs in companies are transitions, but that's much more on the personal level as well. And we're all going through that, in a fairly rapid way. And one phrase that I learned about is that the world nowadays is what's called a VUCA world, right? VUCA, so it's vulnerable, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. And I think a lot of people understand it and go through that. So the context is definitely that people are going through a lot of transitions. And I personally followed this course a year ago with an organization called Coaching.com on TQ, on transition intelligence. So, and I've learned a lot around it. And actually, I'm using it with a group of people that I'm working with in Kenya. I've used it with people in the US, in the UK, in Western Europe. And it's something that appeals to all of those groups, interestingly.
Yep. Sounds great. So maybe let's give a definition of transition intelligence, because definitely. I mean, I see people sometimes confuse it with change management, but this is something.
I think this is wider. So, indeed, what it says here, it's the ability to recognize different stages of life transitions, perceive them as internal opportunities for growth, and then to skillfully navigate them with compassion, clarity, and curiosity. So there's a number of things in there. The first was this ability to recognize what you're going through. Sometimes you're just going through transitions and it's hard to pinpoint what's actually happening. So in this course, what we learned is to identify different stages in there. And then, look at it as an opportunity for growth, as it says here, rather than a threat. So that's how you sort of mental side, right? How that works. And then skillfully navigate through them with compassion, clarity, curiosity. So that's the definition, right? And I can give a bit of background in terms of sort of what they found in the right. So to the point of change management, yes, change management, absolutely critical in large, reorganizations, technology introduction, things like that. But this actually went through what's called the 6 Ps. So we looked at starting with psychological transitions, with a shift in belief in how you look at life, your self perceptions. Also purpose. It can be that sort of in different life stages, right? Your purpose changes. Personal transitions of, moving house, moving company, empty nesting, all of that. Physical transitions, obviously we all go through that as well. Parting and passing is very much obviously with sort of loss and grieving and losing people. And in professional transitions. So obviously, that's one of them, but it's only one of the 6 that we went through. Yeah, I think this is a good overview.
Yeah, thank you so much, Burkhard. And definitely through your career, and I know we have a lot of professional people, especially on LinkedIn community watching us, is you have been living through all major transformations, right? You just name it, right? So it was ERP, shared services, digital transformation, big data, cloud. Now we have AI, which we have been doing some AI elements back in 2017, right?
Right.
So looking back, what patterns you see through all of these technological transitions? Are there like similar patterns?
Well, one thing that I've always liked is you're probably familiar with. It's called the Gartner hype cycle, right?
Yeah.
Where with new introduction of new technologies, initially the expectations are sky high, and then you go through I think they call it the trough of disillusionments, where it's not giving the benefits that people expect, and then you get to a more stable situation where it does have an impact, but it's more balanced and it fits into the organization. So I've seen that with all of them. I do think the one with AI is larger, right, in terms of the scale of investment, the potential scale of how people and organizations, change is just is very, very large. It's larger than we had before.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely feels large, because I would be honest, maybe like 3 years ago when AI kind of started going into this Gartner hype, right? So was still a lot of questions. Is it going to be the same as big data? Is it going to be the same as cloud, right? But we definitely see more and more kind of, changes coming with AI potentially, right? So through all of these transitions, which you have been personally leading your teams and your business organizations, is what good organizations have been doing right through the transition? Like what distinguish actually the organizations to do right?
Yeah, I think of a few things. So one element is not just focusing on the technology, but I had this very simple triangle of people, process, and technology. And those 3, right, you need to tackle all. So that's where the change management comes in. But at the end of the day, people will drive the transformation. And you'll see the impact in organizations that change their processes, become it more customer focused, more efficient, things like that. So you need to have those 3 together. And then I think it's also in terms of change management, something that I think is really impactful also in the world of AI is make it outcome based. Look at it. What is the outcome that we're trying to achieve here? And then form your project and your change around that. And I've seen examples of, there's one in the news of a company like Coca-Cola. They actually went public with that, where they used AI to increase their stock availability in different shops, right, and stores, by using AI to get a much more precise weather forecast. So this is a good example of using it for a very specific outcome. And then I think you're on the right track.
Yeah, no, I would actually like example of Coca-Cola. So this is one example we have in our collective book in AI Oversight. And I have been watching Coca-Cola because I started doing some research on like AI adoption index, and Coca-Cola is coming quite a lot in different news, right? So I recently read an article about them changing the media, like a marketing processes. So they basically put some agents into media work. So they definitely getting quite often innovative across CPG companies. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, Elena.
Yes.
The book. The book, right? It's our
Yes.
book, but mainly your book, to be honest, right? So very much around AI oversight and a new way for boards of organizations to look at that, right? With all the change in AI, how is that book going to help boards?
So it's actually making already tremendous impact. I was not even expected that impact is going to be so big. So last couple months, I got over 200 organizations already got the book. A lot of people have been reaching me out. I had the chance to read 3 board conversation sessions because people found this like really relevant, right? So I think the biggest difference for my book, there are 2 aspects is like our book.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the two big differences. One is that I'm definitely looking, as you said, from the business, like what is the change for the business, right? And I'm looking from this business eyes is what can go wrong, because the way of the board needs to protect the company, right? So it's not about protecting technology, it's protecting the company, protecting the people, protecting the product, protecting the strategy, right? So this is, I think this is the biggest difference, right? And a lot of people find really fascinating what I call AI loops in the book, right? So this is definitely drives a lot of attention because puts a lot of focus on readiness of people, right? So and I know like you and I both have been having conversations, had a really great book launch in London, which a lot of technology people actually have been asking not technology questions at all, right?
Right.
But maybe from your perspective, and you did so much work with boards and all transformations, for this AI specific transition is, what do you think boards are still underestimating? So what is the biggest underestimation in tech transformations?
I think that we all need to still become aware of the scale of what's happening, and that's just the scale and the speed. So, and then the level of impact it can have. I recently heard that, for instance, the state of Utah has now approved the building of a data center twice the size of Manhattan.
Oh, wow.
So you think of those things, and nothing has ever happened like that at that scale before, right? And you look at impact of organizations, the roles for organizations. So I think that's the main thing which I see happening there. And I do think that I'm going back to the book, right? Where the book I find is very strong is just giving you the right and boards the right questions to ask to steer organizations in the right way. And I think that's critical because a lot of people and organizations honestly don't know where to start. This is so overwhelming, right? You honestly don't know where to start. So I do think that those are the big things: scale and also maybe it's good for organizations to start with the risk aspects, but then you need to start looking at what's your business model going to be in the future, right? How is that going to change? What outcome, what new capabilities do you need to get in your company? Roles will change dramatically. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know what I say actually quite a lot. I'm waiting for Uber 2.0 to show up, because these are type of companies which came to the market because the cloud. So cloud became so cheap. Now you can actually implement like a big data type of companies. And this is where we saw the growth of Uber and Airbnb, right? So, but AI are going to create the new generation of such companies. And enterprises who do not change processes, I'm really sorry, but guys, you're going to be out of the market, right? So I think this is what people not realizing yet, right? So you work a lot with leaders and executives, right? And helping them to grow. And I'm one of them, honestly speaking, right? So what are the biggest mistake leaders make during the transition period?
I think one mistake is if there obviously there's uncertainty, right? You don't know where you're going to. I think one mistake is if people start to become less visible because they're trying to sort out themselves what's all happening, where are we moving to. I think it's really important to have transparency there to say, well, these are the things we're going through, and basically just to admit, I don't know, right? We need to work through this. These are the values we have. These are the things we try to achieve, but we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. And as a team, we need to go through that. So take the team with them. I think that's an important thing. One of the other parts I would say with AI, just because it's such a potential big change, right, is I do think for companies, organizations, it's really important to network with peers, even with competitors, to say, let's try to find out a way this makes sense for all of us, right? Because every organization trying to go on this journey, on their own, is going to be really hard. And one metaphor that I heard about AI, which I really liked, is it's actually coming from, I need to give credit to the CIO of Johnson & Johnson, Jim Swanson. Now, he came with that, and he said, the metaphor is AI is like a lighthouse. If you're the captain of a ship, right, you are also with AI, you're still the captain of the ship. Yeah. That doesn't change. It's not that the lighthouse takes off, but the lighthouse will give you clarity on danger, right? It helps you steer. But for the lighthouse to work well, is the foundation needs to be very, very solid in terms of quality data. I know that will strongly appeal to you, Elena. And then at the lowest level, you have people using AI tools themselves in their day-to-day work. And I think that's part of the change, and where it's also different from some of the earlier technology transitions. People will use it anyway in any organization, whether you like it or not. So they'll use it, and they'll do it to make their own lives better and easier, which is a great thing. Nobody in this day of age writes any notes or minutes from meetings, right? It's all done for you. So that's the lowest level. The middle level is where business processes change for functions, right? Your R&D function, your supply chain, your marketing, your sales, all of that, right? So and that's where business processes and business outcomes, are important. And at the top level, in that metaphor, is where you really impact sort of customers, clients, patients, right, in the healthcare industry, where you can have dramatic, improvements, which I think is the fascinating part. But I do like that metaphor.
Sounds great. So speaking about the people, so I'll bring on stage like three parts of the transition, right? So can you talk more about this? Because this drove a lot of attention in both in London and Ireland. Yeah. People keep asking to learn more.
Yeah. So this is going back indeed to the transition, the TQ setup, right? What they found in research is that the difference between people that handle these transitions well and people that really struggle with transitions, it really comes down to these three components, these three factors. So starting with mindset is, do you have a mindset where which is focused on development, on growth, or are you more operating sort of fear-based, where you don't want these changes to happen? That's a really big one. Community is also, do you have a group of people that helps you? And I think so. Going back to AI again, if you have a community of people that is all going through similar issues here, it makes such a difference rather than being sort of on your own there. And the third, and probably the least important, is the tool set. We worked through that where, we talked about it, for instance, about the importance of getting an explorer mindset as you work through changes, right? To have an explorer mindset, and we have a number of tool sets around it. So those are the three elements that make the biggest difference.
So speaking about your multicultural experience, right? So you now work with Kenya, with Africa. You had the chance to lead organizations across Europe, different countries. Now living in UK, plus worked in United States and traveled the globe, right? So do you see the difference, like a cultural difference in how different cultures approach transition? Personal transition or professional transition? Is it any differences you noticed?
So on an individual level, what I've enjoyed doing is on these transition courses, right? We have people from all those different countries that you mentioned, and it works really well. And it is fairly similar, the type of things that people are
Mhm.
going through. I do think there's an element of sort of scale and affordability which is different in different countries, right? So in the US, you have the famous can-do mentality, and there's typically funds to do stuff. So it makes it easier sometimes to move forward. Europe has, a rich culture, but also you've got the diversity of different languages, different sort of, even within that different cultures, right? So sometimes a bit harder there. And in Africa and Kenya, I mean, very impressive in terms of the mindset, the willingness to develop things, creative, imaginative, but affordability is a big issue, right? So there are differences there, but on an individual level, I find.
I honestly, I know you and I had a lot of conversation about the cultural aspect, how different executives work, and you and myself, we had the chance actually to go through cultural trainings and understanding the different companies. For me, it was absolutely amazing to discover my personal cultural profile. So I think I found for myself, because I was born in a country which doesn't exist anymore, right? So I was basically like needed to survive, right? So how you're going to transition yourself, plus going through some, transitions from being technical, moving more into like getting PhD in economics, moving into United States. So I can definitely rely into some cultural aspects as well. So yeah, but definitely. So I want to go a little bit more personal, because I think this is topic when people don't speak enough, to be honest, right? So we all have really great corporate titles, right? So we could be CIOs, SVPs of technology, chief data and AI. So, but there is a life outside of corporate as well. And I do see that so many successful leaders have been transitioning into coaching roles, into consulting roles, into owning own businesses. So, but they struggle so much with identity, because you used to be big title, not a title anymore. So what advice you would give someone who is kind of considering right now preparing for this next chapter after corporate?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I do realize that, and there's famous people actually that talk about that, having sort of worked in those corporates and then struggling with the change in the identity. To me, there's a few things. One is, I think it's good to get a sense for if the structure falls away, right, from that you had in the corporate life. So you've got more freedom, and I think using that freedom it's good to think about what is a passion you have, what's something you really like to do. And you probably know this Japanese concept of ikigai, right? The 4 things, right? So the passion that you have, the things you're good at, what the world needs, and then the 4th component is also what you can get paid for. Now the last component is probably less important, but I noticed for myself, leaving corporate life, I got the feedback from people saying, we miss your mentoring. And I was sort of CIO of a part of the organization there. Nobody said we miss your technical skills, so that was clear that wasn't probably the direction I should be going in. But I followed a coaching degree. I personally like learning, and I think that's an important thing, to just keep like this TQ, and now I'm working on things like team coaching, systemic team coaching. It's important, I think, to just keep developing, keep growing, but also then give back. So, we come out of corporate life with a lot of benefits that we've had. And I think it's good to then, in the next phase, really be focused on what is the best way you can give back to people, to the world, to society. And for me, that was around coaching, mentoring, teaching. I love doing that. And it's actually, I think it's interesting to go from this large, hundreds of thousands of people in a corporate world in your organization to being a one-woman or one-man band. And I created my Flip the Light Switch coaching business. Developed it particularly in Kenya with a group of people that I love working with, and they're just they've taken it on board. But you're in the start, you're on your own.
Yes.
But you can also create things that are truly yours, which is what you're doing now, Elena. You've got the freedom to write. You do the same. You follow your passion, and that has that impact that you now have. So there's different elements there that you would never have in a corporate life.
Yeah, no, I would say there is a lot of benefits, and for sure, right? So, but I think the biggest benefit, what I think from the corporate life, is a network of people. And you absolutely true is
right.
So this is what people say all the time to me as well. Is like, we miss talking to you, we miss your coaching, we miss like you challenging us back, right? So this is, I think, what I'm trying to do through even recording this type of podcasts, to give people my thinking, and bring fantastic guests and fantastic people to have this type of conversation. Yes. Okay, wonderful. So now we're going to go really quick. Just one sentence or one word answer.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit like a lightning round. The first short question, short answer. What is the biggest lesson from your Chief Information Officer career?
Biggest lesson I would say is create opportunities and then take the opportunities.
Wonderful. Most underestimated leadership skill?
I think it's around creating true innovation. It's very easy to just do the day-to-day stuff, deliver your projects, but then to really create sort of something new is very, very hard, and it's very rewarding, but it's underestimated.
Okay, wonderful. Next one, technology that changed your thinking the most?
Yeah, I go back. I go actually to what I use now. It's my new friend ChatGPT, who I talk to regularly, and so the thing there is it's all voice based, which I love. I don't have to type it in, but also these AI tools, they remember your situation, right? So you don't have to explain things from the start. It's a bit scary, but it's also very powerful. I use it a lot to at least get sort of first ideas about how to approach something.
Okay, wonderful. So book every executive should read except our book.
No, certainly our book, right? Start with that. There's a book which is not that well known. It's called Head, Heart, Guts. And it's around sort of leadership styles of people and companies. And we used it at a large acquisition from J&J Consumer, where we clearly had two companies with different leadership styles and different cultures. One much more head-oriented, very analytical, and another organization much more gut-oriented. And that was the biggest challenge, to be honest, bringing that together and trying to sort of get the best of both.
Okay, wonderful. So best career advice you personally ever received?
I don't know if it's best. There's one thing that stuck with me from the beginning of my career, and there was a boss that told me, his phrase was, take your losses quickly. And it was around big proposals we made at the time as an external provider, but it stayed with me. And I think it's very useful to, if there's a loss, analyze it, understand what happened, but then don't dwell on it, move forward.
Yeah, love it. So one thing AI will never replace?
Human empathy, sort of the judgment about what ultimately matters, right? Yeah.
Yep. Wonderful. Yeah. And maybe we'll finish. The last small question is, what thing boards need to discuss more often now?
So in the context of AI, we talked about it, not just focusing on risk, but also on business model, new capabilities, right? Value creation, things like that. Yeah. And do buy the book.
Yes, absolutely, definitely. So, I mean, honestly speaking, as I said, feedback from the book was amazing, right? So,
Yeah.
and just couple months, already 200 companies, and we on really good track to engage more people about this conversation. And this was the entire purpose of the book: engage more conversations and drive more conversations to help companies to be more successful. So, maybe just your last message for the audience. What would be the last message you would love to leave the audience with about the transition intelligence?
So the thing that I would encourage people to do is become explorers. That's what we learned in this the TQ training, and this is around sort of the mindset, right? The mindset of, hey, we're going to explore. You do that with other people together. You have the tools to do it, but do it sort of to grow and to learn new things. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you so much, Gerhard. So this was so wonderful to have you here. So this is not the first time we have conversations. We have more topics to discuss. Thank you so much. So for everybody, if you have any questions, please add questions to the comments. We will be happy to answer your questions. And the more resources we can post in comments where you can explore more about transition intelligence. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thanks, Elena. Bye now.
Bye.